What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for April 16th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. It is Tuesday, time for a little motivation / positivity. And today's quote comes from, I've talked about him a few times on here, but I get weekly emails every Monday from Michael Sombert, whose company is Rebel Culture. He does a lot of coaching and things like that. I originally met him through a teacher coaching thing, but now he's expanded out. He still does the teaching coaching, but also goes to businesses, does a lot of team building and management coaching and things like that. But I would definitely recommend checking him out, only because every Monday you get the quotes sent to you, and they're always good. He gives a story behind it. But this week's quote really just hit home. And basically the entire email was about this quote: scared can't mean stop. And that to me is very, very powerful, because if you think about all the times you've been scared to do something and didn't do it, and just what could have been, what you missed out on, or if you were scared to do something but you pushed through anyway, just how rewarding that is. And I think a lot of times in our society, when we get scared, we tend to not do anything for fear of what might happen. We don't take those risks, and it really is a detriment to what we want to accomplish sometimes, because we don't take those chances because we're scared of what might happen. I look at just so many things in my own life, both personally and professionally, that I was scared about, and admittedly, some things that I did not do, that I look back on, it's like, man, I wish I would have done this, or if I'd done this might have been a little different. But I think as you go through your weeks, just if you're scared, that can't mean you stop doing something, especially if it's something that's going to make you better, whether it's taking a risk on your job, or taking a risk personally and trying to start a new business, or whatever it could be. So just as you go through your week, thanks to Michael Sombert from Rebel Culture, scared can't mean stop. And there is no sort of partnership, paid promotion, or anything. It's 100% me just being a fan of his and wanting to use that quote today. But scared can't mean stop. Just because you're scared does not mean you don't do something. And it's just a good mindset to have. Obviously, I'm not saying go out there and be reckless, but if there's something that is a little don't be afraid to take that risk, and don't be scared, and just stop. And that is today's Tuesday motivation / positivity. Scared can't mean stop. Thanks to Michael Sombert from Rebel Culture. All right, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, what is the greatest sporting broadcast call of all time? Everybody had a lot of fun with this. I had a couple write-ins I'll talk about, but 43% of you thought it was "Do You Believe in Miracles?" Followed by 29% of "Down Goes Frazier." I guess nobody thought "Havlicek stole the ball" was the good one. Rightfully so, because it happened against the Sixers. But I do think "Do You Believe in Miracles" is a good one, only because of what that meant on a global scale, really. Not so much the call, but the fact that the United States hockey team did beat the Soviet Union, which was the juggernaut. You saw the movie Miracle. But Al Michaels with the "Do You Believe in Miracles?" wins our question of the day poll from yesterday. A couple, two that were written in that I completely didn't even think of. One on a national level, one on a local level. Nationally, a resident golf expert, Scott. How could I forget this one? Vern Lundquist on Tiger Woods chip-in at the Masters back in, I believe that was 2005, when the ball rolled. It was like the ultimate Nike commercial. And he said, "Oh, wow, have you ever in your life seen something like this?" Or something along those lines. That was a good one. Vern, by the way, retired from the Masters this year. Going to miss him. I still go back to Vern Lundquist back when he would do the NFL on CBS with Terry Bradshaw. They actually did the Fog Bowl. There's a little Philly nugget there for you with Vern Lundquist. And then I had a couple people write in about Harry Callis's call for Mike Schmitz 500th home run, where he said, "There it is, number 500." But any Harry Kalas home run call could be up there. Swinging a long drive, deep left. And again, I'm not doing it justice. But as always, thank you for participating in the question of the day. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. All right. Social media, don't forget to hit me up on Twitter and TikTok, Jimbo_Mont, on Instagram at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Jimbo_Mont. Tell your friends. Let's spread and grow this thing. I have some good things lined up for the summer, and the more the merrier, because during the summer it sort of gets there's only really baseball until we start getting into, like, once the NBA, NHL playoffs start, and before NFL training camps, it's really just baseball and the union. So got some fun things, but tell your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's help grow this thing. Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction class. All the information is in the description. Check it out for ticket information as well. This one's going to sell out. I keep saying it, but you guys, I don't know if it's you guys or whoever, a combination of everything, but tickets are actually going super, super fast. So get in early to ensure you get to be there for when Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, Jameer Nelson, among others, get inducted. And if you're interested in being a sponsor, whether you want to have your name in the program, sponsor a table, or if you want to donate, you have a business that's a service type business and want to donate something for the auction, hit me up on that as well. We're looking for just different things, whether it's restaurant, it doesn't have to be sports related, restaurants, hotel packages. If you own or run a golf course and want to donate some foursomes, that would be great as well. Any type of experiences will do. So hit me up offline for that. And all the information you need for tickets as well as the induction class is in the description. All right, Flyers. We kind of know now what they need to do. As we said yesterday, they certainly need to win in regulation tonight, but we know what help they need. And they need both the Penguins as well as the Red Wings to lose in regulation. They cannot go to overtime, or either one of them will finish ahead of the Flyers. I believe the Red Wings play tonight. I did not check to see who they play. Flyers play the Capitals, and then the Penguins play tomorrow. So it is, in theory, this could drag out until tomorrow. But again, at least going into it, the Flyers know they cannot go to overtime. So they should be aggressive. If it gets down to it and we see a need earlier in the third period, they might be and should be pulling the goalie early to get that extra attacker. But it all starts tonight. They need some help, but I've seen way crazier things happen when teams needed help. Go back to that 2008 Eagles season when they needed like so many different things to happen before they even played the Cowboys. So take care of business tonight. Watch the scoreboard, see what the Red Wings are doing, and then root against the Penguins. Not a hard thing to do tomorrow. But we will know for sure whether they are eliminated or have a chance later tonight. So we'll update you there tomorrow. No real updates on the Sixers as they prepare for their playing game tomorrow against Miami. Just a lot of talk about just how far they can go. I was listening to WIP this morning at the gym. And the topic, their poll question was, are you going to watch the Sixers? And surprisingly, a lot of people were in the, I won't watch them until they get here. And I don't know. I'm excited to see what Nick Nurse can do, being the first time that he's going to be there. But with all that being said, I missed this just 30 seconds ago because I was so excited to talk about the Sixers. And again, I know how it's going to end with the Sixers. I've made that perfectly clear. We know how this is going to end. I'm going to get my heart broken like I always do. But we're going to go all in anyway. But back to the Flyers for a second. That leads us to today's question of the day. Because the odds are stacked against them to make the playoffs. So, if they don't make the playoffs, all things considered, is this season a success or a disappointment? Taking in the full picture. For me, I mean, I think maybe a month or two from now, once they get closer to the draft and we start prepping and doing the offseason preparations for next season, maybe we can say it's a success. But for me, it's a disappointment because you're, again, just like we talked about the 93 Phillies, and I talk about this all the time, how expectations change as the season goes on. And especially with this Flyers team, they choked right now. Like they went in a free fall and they choked. And really, like, they should have already had a playoff spot clinched at this point, but they didn't. So to me, it's a disappointment. Again, like, we could take moral victories and all this, but I mean, especially recently with the Flyers, I mean, the fact that you whittled away a playoff chance, that's a disappointment. So that's the question of the day. Win or lose tonight, is the Flyers season a disappointment or a success? 267-495-8531. Get you in on the voice and text line. Let me know what you think. Is it a success or a disappointment? All right. Yesterday was the WNBA draft, and while Philly does not have a team, the commissioner of the WNBA is looking to expand to 16 teams by 2028, I believe she said. And she listed names of cities they've been talking to. Philadelphia was at the very top of the list. She said, depending on ownership groups and things like that, let's get this done. I know there is a guy I follow on Twitter, NBA in Philly, or WNBA in Philly. It's time. And I think the city is ready for it. I think the city will support it. And it's time. I mean, it really, really is time. So hopefully that gets done soon. I don't know where they are and what ownership groups, but let's get this done. Let's bring a WNBA team to Philadelphia. Great win for the Phils yesterday. Or I shouldn't say great, exciting win for the Phils yesterday. Christian Pache walked it off in the ninth, or extra innings, I should say, in the 10th. 2-1, they beat the Rockies. But it was the Rockies. They should. There's no reason you should be only scoring 2 runs against the Rockies. They should have blown this team out, especially because Nola was lights out. 7 1/3, 9 Ks, 1 earned run, 1 walk. Kind of put that opening day game behind him, or first start of the season, I should say. But yeah, you can't. A win is a win, but I'm starting to get a little concerned with how the offense is looking, and the fact that the Rockies are one of the worst teams in the league. And you only scored 2 runs. Like, hopefully tonight is the night that the floodgates open. But 2-1, they are above 500, and they haven't really been able. They've done it once all season, where they won 2 games in a row. But come on, man, let's get a winning streak against the Rockies and the White Sox. Like, this is starting to get ridiculous. But the big news, finally. Howie listened and signed Devontae. They exercised his 5th-year option, which kicked in $15 million, and then extended him 3 years for $75 million with $51 million guaranteed. He will be here until 2028. I could not be happier. I like Devontae. I think with everything else you got going on, the offense is set now. Let's focus on the draft. Let's focus on the defense. Get some young guys in there and really keep this window of opportunity open for the next 5 years or so. But good move. Extended Devontae. Thank you, Howie. You listened. And, of course, in honor of Devontae, go to phillygoat.com. They have the skinny Batman shirt with him running with the cape on. Get this Philly City Connect, the whole lineup they have. Just go check out what Philly Goat has. But get your Devontae Smith skinny Batman shirt from phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Hell, get both. Get the Philly Connect as well as the Devontae, and then buy some shoes to match, and you'll be good to go. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery at checkout for 10% off your order. phillygoat.com. They have you covered for all your Philly sports apparel needs. All right, today we're going to go back to 1953. And on this day in 1953, the Phillies lost to the Pirates 14-12 out in Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. Second baseman Connie Ryan, though, had 6 hits in the loss for the Phillies. Ryan, that was good enough to tie the major league record for hits in a 9-inning game. Obviously, that is the Phillies record still to this day for hits in a game. Ryan was only a .244 career hitter and only had 688 hits in 12 seasons, so this was a big deal for him. There's been numerous times in Phillies history where players have hit 5 hits in a game. The last time it happened, believe it or not, and we'll give you a little bonus here, happened on back-to-back nights back in 2022, September 20th and 21st. JT Realmuto and then Matt Vierling had 5 hits on back-to-back nights, and JT has done it twice for the Phillies. He's had 5 hits 2 times in his Phillies career. Both of them happened at Citizens Bank Park, by the way, so as we get ready for our top 20 memory, there's a little tie-in there. It didn't make our top 20, but still a pretty cool moment at Citizens Bank Park. If you're keeping score at home and you're anything like me, your mind's probably wondering, what is the Major League record for hits in a game? Well, that would be 7, set in 1975 by Rennie Stinnett for the Pirates. But this day, back in 1953, and it's ironic that a Pirate has the record, but the Pirates beat the Phillies 14-12, but second baseman Connie Ryan, a career .244 hitter, had 6 hits in the loss for the Phillies. And it still stands as a Phillies record to this day. JT and Matt Vierling tried to break it, but could not. I think both of those instances, the game just didn't go long enough for them to have it. There are other hit records as far as extra inning games and things like that. But the key for Connie Ryan is he went 6 for 6. So they were all consecutive hits, which tied the Major League record, which was later broken by Rennie Stinnett back in 1975. All right. Speaking of Citizens Bank Park, our top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park is we are going to go back to August 15th of 2019. It was Bryce's first season with the Phils, and the Phillies were down 5-1 in the bottom of the 9th. They were able to get it to 5-3. They loaded the bases up with 1 out. Bryce Harper comes up to bat, hits a 2-2 pitch to the second deck in right field. He absolutely bombed this one. He sprinted around the bases. If you want to, you can check out the YouTube clip of this in those powder blue jerseys, and just gave us a glimpse of what was to come over the next 5 years with Bryce Harper. Just one of the greatest things, a walk-off grand slam for Bryce Harper in his first season with the Phillies. Really endeared himself to Phillies fans that night. I think my favorite part of it is the fact that he sprinted around the bases. Ranger Suarez got the win that night for the Phils. But ironically enough, on the Cubs that day were 2 current Phillies. Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos were both on the Cubs. So lots of current Philly connections on that night when Bryce hit his walk-off grand slam, which is our top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. And finally today, our Philly sports team with unfinished business who left a little bit of meat on the bone. It's the 2008-2009 Villanova Wildcats. They had a 30-8 record. They were ranked number 10 in the AP poll, or that was their highest ranking of the year. I believe at one point they were up to number 4 in the coaches poll. But I can't confirm that because there was differing things on my research things. But I know they were number 10 in the AP poll at one point. They were knocked out early in the Big East tournament by number 5 Louisville. That was good enough for a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, which kind of gave them an advantage because being the 3 seed in the East allowed them, I believe it was the East, but either way, they played at the Wells Fargo Center, which they played probably half their home games or a good amount of their home games at the Wells Fargo Center. So they beat American and number 7 UCLA at the Wells Fargo Center. They beat Duke, which was ranked number 5 to get to the Elite 8, where they took on number 4 ranked Pittsburgh, their Big East rival at the time. They edged them out 78-76, and I remember it was early on in my relationship with my wife. I remember we were at it's the only time I've ever been there, but it was at the Dave & Buster's in Plymouth Meeting, and I remember watching that game, actively rooting against Villanova because I had Pitt going to the Final Four, and that ultimately busted my bracket. And yes, these are the things that I remember. I couldn't tell you anything about the date, but I remember sitting there, and there was a ton of Nova fans, and I remember actively rooting against them because I had Pitt, and my bracket ended up getting busted. But I digress. They ended up playing North Carolina, a familiar foe for them in the Final Four. And it was all North Carolina. They lost 83-69. That UNC team was stacked. Tyler Hansborough was on that team. Wayne Ellington, Danny Green. They were just stacked. And Wayne Ellington obviously is from the main line, so it was ironic that he had a good game. Danny Green shot like 40% from three in that game. But it was not all bad for Nova because it wasn't like they got routed, but they got down early because they couldn't hit shots. And once they battled strong, but they just could not catch up and get over the hump. And like, if you can't shoot against a team that good of a North Carolina team, you're going to be in trouble. Villanova shot 32.9% and only 18.5% from three-point range, which they were 35% on the year. So if you kind of flip the script a little bit, that was a big difference in the game. And I think Ellington was just lights out. Between him and Danny Green, like, they shot over 50% from three-point range. So that really was the difference, was just shooting. Nova just could not hit any shots. We know they would eventually, 7 years later, win the national championship when they got back to the Final Four. But this was Jay Wright's Final Four team. And I think if you ask anybody on that team, the fact that they just could not hit a shot, that's where they kind of have that unfinished business, because then it goes into what if we'd have hit 5 more three-pointers, would have changed the outcome of the game. But again, they got down early and just could not catch up. But that is today's Philly sports team with unfinished business that left a little bit of meat on the bone. The 2008-2009 Villanova Wildcats, who made it to the Final Four, then could not buy a bucket against the Tar Heels from North Carolina. Our top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park was Bryce's walk-off grand slam back in 2019, his first season with the Phils, when they beat the Cubs 7-5. And just really, they finished 500 that year, and just it spelled the end of Gabe Kapler. But help was on the way. I believe that was, I forget if Kapler was there. Actually, Kapler was there during the COVID years. So either way, talk about unfinished business. Anyway, on this date back in 1953, second baseman Connie Ryan set the Phillies' single-game record for hits in a game with 6 in a 14-12 loss to the Pirates. The Eagles signed Devontae. Finally, Howie listened. Glorious days. Now I want to focus 100% on the defense, maybe grab an offensive lineman or two, but it's all draft, and we'll start looking ahead to the draft and previewing what we have going on, because the draft is next week, I believe. Yeah, I think it's next weekend. So we'll start taking a look at that and getting things together. We're going to be doing a little bit of scoreboard watching, but Flyers, take care of business in regulation. Don't let this game go into overtime, and we'll be okay. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. Be sure to answer the question of the day. Is the Flyers season a success or disappointment, win or lose? Let me know what you're thinking. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.